Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off the Record with Judah
and Kirk.
Today we have an extra fun one. We're going to be diving back into the world of DC Comics with us reviewing the fourth volume of Joshua Williamson's Superman run in Superman Rise of the Superwoman, which is written by, again, writer Joshua Williamson with art from superstar artist Dan Mora. So we pick up after the universe-changing events of Absolute Power, which we briefly touched on in our All In episode.
And really quickly as well, we will be going over the Absolute Superman too.
Yes, we will. We will be going over the Absolute Superman from Jason Aaron as well. But we're starting with Superman Rise of the Superwoman, which immediately that story spins out of the All In special from DC in the Superman world. And so we pick up after Absolute Power in the All In special, and in Superman comics, the House of Brainiac, which happened literally just before Absolute Power disrupted a whole bunch of the mainline books. So it's literally just been three events just leading into this story in the Superman title. So we pick up Lois Lane has suddenly gained powers like Superman's and has adopted a mantle that she's picked up many a time in the Silver Age because, fun power-swapping stories. She's picked up the mantle of Superwoman. And it's really interesting. We get to see some very interesting dynamics. Lois Lane has developed, and she's become the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet, as the former editor-in-chief, Perry White, is now running for mayor. And we get some fun stuff with Jimmy Olsen on the side, where Jimmy Olsen is trying to take a picture of the elusive Superwoman, who is Lois. We get Clark and Lois at the Daily Planet, and they both hear a big boom with their super hearing abilities. Mm-hmm. And they both go change in the janitor's closet, which I thought was funny. It's a cute little scene right there. And they fly off to go deal with Atomic Skull and his little atomic hounds, right? So they handle that situation. We get to see them working together, and they have a good dynamic. Just they've long-standing, good relationship dynamic between Superman and Lois Lane. But it's awesome to see them work together in a different way. But as they just finished dealing with the Atomic Skull, Doomsday returns from hell, and fun fact about Doomsday, he has evolutionary powers. So whatever kills Doomsday, he will come back from the dead, evolved with powers of that thing. So he died while he was being tortured in hell, so he returns with, magical hellfire powers, as one would expect, right? And so Doomsday returns, and Superman and Superwoman are fighting Doomsday, and we get, some fun back and forth. Lois is concerned, and she gets kind of like a little flashback, and we get some tribute images to the classic Superman 75 where he dies. And meanwhile, Superman fighting Doomsday, time pauses, right? And Ooh, spooky, I know, it's crazy. And the Time Trapper appears to him and talks to him, and he's talking about the future, and he's talking about how, it's important that he came to Superman at this moment in time before X, Y, and Z things are going to happen. And Superman's like, okay, what's going on? You're no good. Why are you appearing to me right now? And he's like, well, I'm Doomsday from the future when I die because of time. Like, he dies of old age, and he comes back as Time Trapper with more cognitive abilities, because Doomsday most of the time is just mindless, right? This Time Trapper Doomsday, right, we get two iterations of Doomsday. This Time Trapper Doomsday is very well-spoken and has, can say words. He's not just going grunting and, and ah, and all that fun little...
He's like a fully developed
character, yeah. And so this Time Trapper is like, hey, I need you to come with me and help me. And Superman's like, that sounds sketchy. I don't think I should do that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go deal with the past you right now. And so Time Trapper unpauses time, and we get to see Superman fly around the world and punch Hellfire Doomsday, which is super cool. I thought that was very fun. And so they take down Doomsday, and Supercorp comes in and takes him away, and they put him up in Supercorp. And so next issue
spelled C-O-R-P.
Yeah, super. So like just like Green Lantern Corps or the Marine Corps or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Not CORE. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that clarification there, Kirk. It's
extremely important.
It
means
so
everything.
Important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Without that, you just wouldn't know what's happening.
Yes. And so then we get a very kind of cute little slow down issue because we've been kind of high octane this entire time, fight after fight. We had a nice little slowdown where we see Superman and Lois as Superman and Superwoman go on a date. We get to explore some fun parts of the DC universe. We get some fun cameos from some characters in there too.
The very brief Justice League cameo that was going on there.
Yeah, it was good.
It's towards the end of the it's a what's the word I'm looking for? Not run.
Issue. Story.
So the 5 issues is a
story. Which is collected in a volume.
Got it. So towards the end of this story is more when that kind of cameo happens, but I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of also like, oh wait, now I kind of want more of it. But still, I'm really glad that was included. So you're right, the cameo stuff that was going on was good.
It was good. I love I love that we can focus on Superman and his characters, but we can also bring in other elements of the DC pantheon and have fun with it.
Like this is happening in a shared universe, and this is just recognizing that.
Yeah, 100%. So we get a nice little date for Superman and Superwoman, and they end it in Smallville, and they set Supergirl to protect Metropolis. And at the end of their date, they get a call from Supergirl, and she's like, "Hey, I kind of need your guys' help because Metropolis is getting invaded by spaceships, and the people are like, hey, you got to give us Doomsday, or we're gonna annihilate your planet, basically."
Naturally. And
so Superman and Superwoman show up, and an entity called the Radiant, who we've seen before, and one of the most interesting sequels to the death of Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey, which is a whole nother thing. So we've seen the Radiant before. He's from Calaton, and the Calatonians and the Radiant, they appear, and Superman and Superwoman try to negotiate with them, but you kind of realize that they want Doomsday not to take Doomsday off the map, but they want to use Doomsday as a weapon. And Superman's like, you can't do that. That's a bad idea. And Lois is also like, that's a bad idea. So they start getting into the fight with the Radiant, who is very powerful, by the way. And so
kind of looks like Dr. Manhattan.
Yes. Yeah, actually, he does. He's all those blue naked guys, they kind of look similar.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. But we also see subplots with Lex in the background, where we see him with his daughter and Mercy Graves, who is the head of Supercorps.
Mm-hmm. Slowly, and Lex has memory.
So in House of Brainiac, he plugged his mind into a machine to help Superman defeat Brainiac, and when he came back from that, his memories were for the most part gone. Like, he remembers some people, like his daughter and like Mercy, but he doesn't remember his personality or who he was or some of the things that he did.
So he was a good guy at that moment?
At that moment. Well, so why Supercorps exists, right? Going back to the first volume of this run, which is called Supercorps, is Lex Luthor is trying to make a little bit of a change because he knows about a coming threat that Superman doesn't, right? And so he realizes that him and Superman have to work together in order to defeat that. So he gives Superman all of his assets at LexCorp, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why it's Supercorps now. Like, Supercorps was LexCorp.
Okay.
At one point in time, right?
Now, I will say, it is technically Supercorp because it is Super Corporation, not Super.
The writer calls it Supercorp.
Core. Just want to say, if we want to be technical, it's not like it's the Marine Corps. It's like it's a corporation. Yes, I know, but they're totally different things.
Yes, they are.
But the Marine Corps is not a corporation, is what I'm saying. But this is a corporation.
I'm just using the common pronunciation.
Nobody ever says LexCorp. It's always LexCorp. So why would you say Supercorp?
I say LexCorp.
What is wrong with you?
That's how you say it. It's Luthor Corp. right? It's Lex Corp. That's how you say that. I'm pretty sure. You can, if you want to
tell us in the comments.
Tell me in the comments below. Okay.
Yes. And that's a good time to also mention to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, give us a comment, like we just said. Tell us who's right. Is it Core? Is it Corp? And also, like, just give us ideas for
things to do. Yeah. Ask us questions, you know.
Yeah, if there's specific, like, comics that you want us to watch, to read, you know, we can maybe give a priority to those things versus what we already had plans for. If there's something in Star Trek, if any of the new like movies or shows that are coming out that aren't necessarily Star Trek or DC related
are interested to y'all and y'all want to hear our thoughts on them,
let us know.
Yeah, 100%.
By a comment.
Yes, sir.
And we'll also be doing like polls and things in the community tab of the YouTube channel, so you could always check in on there every once in a while to give your input there too.
Yeah.
But continue, Judah.
Okay. So,
now that we've totally plugged ourselves and chilled.
So the Radiant, right? He like flies to Supercorp. I can't say corp. It just sounds bad to me. I don't know why.
We're going to be going over this the entire episode, I feel like.
He flies to Supercorp. He frees Doomsday, and him and all the Kal-El are fighting Superman, and Superman and Doomsday are teaming up to take these guys out, which is crazy. It's a pretty cool moment, right?
Yeah.
And then Superman and his supporting cast of characters is, they're doing damage control, and they're trying to save people. Yeah. And Lex...
And, like, his family.
Yeah, and his family. Yeah, his family, they're trying to save people throughout the city, and Superman and Doomsday are fighting the Radiant. And Superwoman's trying to save people, right? But then the Radiant releases a large blast on Superman and Doomsday that is about to hit Jimmy Olsen and his girlfriend, who is the Silver Banshee at this point. Jimmy Olsen has many girlfriends. He's a ladies' man.
Yeah, obviously.
Yes.
But this one's Shaban.
Yeah, this one's Shaban. Or Shaban.
It's Shaban.
Shaban. Okay. Shaban. I'm going to trust Kirk on that one. Correct us again if we're wrong in the comments down below. All right. So the blast is about to hit them, but time stops for her. And guess who shows back up? Good old Time Trapper Doomsday, who's offering her the same thing. He's like, hey, you got these powers. I need help with this thing. Mm-hmm. Your husband was like, nah, can you help me? And she's like, why would I do that? And he's like, well, I need help. That's basically his offer.
His argument was kind of bad.
Yes, which is funny because having some hindsight to what he is foreshadowing, he has a compelling argument if he makes one. But he doesn't. So she rejects that, and he's like, you know what? I gave Superman some extra time to gain the speed to knock out Doomsday before. I'm not going to be so gracious to you. And he just lets time restart, and the blast hits Jimmy and Shaban, right? And knocks them down, and they're both kind of injured, and Lois feels awful about it. And then we cut to Lex, and Lex has a couple things here or there. He's kind of like, oh, I'm picking up on some things.
Yeah.
And he picks up on something that was a lot bigger of a memory. And it's what helps him contain the Kal-El and Hellfire Doomsday, right? And so he shrinks them all down into, like, with like a Brainiac ray, into like a small city, like the bottled city of Kandor, or any of the...
Was Argo a bottled city?
Argo, yes. Yeah. Argo was a bottled city. There's... Brainiac's collection of bottled cities is a lot. There's a lot of bottled cities.
Oh, and we got to some of that.
Yeah. If you read House of Brainiac, you get a bunch of fun stuff with bottled cities. So that's how they're able to contain the threat of what happened, right? And then we cut to the hospital, and, Clark and Lois are there, right? And they're there because Jimmy's in the hospital, right? And then as they go to leave to respond to something, Shaban, as Silver Banshee, she's like, hey, he was trying to get a picture of you. That was all he was doing. And, he got hurt doing that, right? Like, severely. And at this point in time, Jimmy has not gone out of the hospital, and that happened at the beginning of this year. So that's serious injury, right? And so she's like, you've just made your first enemy, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get two foreshadowing things for the future. After that, we see the Time Trapper in the future, and he sees the threat that he needs help defeating, which is Doomsday's Omega Legion, who we last saw in the pages of DC All-In, who have something to do with the overarching thing that's going on. I think they, at this point, pretty much it's confirmed that they've taken captive Booster Gold, right? So that's setting up, A, a later Superman story, B, some of the big event stuff that's about to be happening at DC, and also what Time Trapper is going to be doing, because he appears in some of the other books that we're probably going to be covering in the future as well. So that's one of the setups. Then we cut to deep space, where General Zod is getting examined by a doctor, right? And Zod, the doctor's like, well, your powers are gone. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I don't know what happened. They're just gone. You don't have them. And then he's like, okay, thank you. And he just brutally kills the guy. It's pretty great.
Of course.
And it sets up one of the things that the Time Trapper said was that, oh, Superman, you still have your left eye. That must mean Zod hasn't returned.
Yep.
So we're kind of building up a couple things here. We're building up the Omega Legion, and we're building up Zod.
Yeah,
which means some great excitement for the future. Yeah. But that's the overarching story. I want to hear what Kirk's thoughts were on this.
I liked a lot of the kind of slow hints that were given, specifically about the Zod thing throughout, where we were given kind of a background information of Lois was wearing one of the what are the suits called that she was wearing from the Alpha Omega thing. Well, it wasn't the Alpha Omega. It was the Absolute Power.
Yes.
Right? So we talked a little while ago about the Absolute Power finale and how it like leads into Alpha and Omega. And how there was like a whole fight between like all the heroes and Amanda Waller, right?
Yes.
And so there were these suit things that Amanda Waller was using. What were they called?
The Amazos.
The Amazos,
which contained the powers of almost, I think, every hero and villain in the DC universe, technically.
So she was wearing that armor, and she was trying to, like, fly in and help. But at the moment where they kind of shut the whole system off and tried to return everybody's powers, and there were a couple of, like, issues that we've heard about through, actually, not only just the Superman thing, but also in a bunch of the other ones.
Yeah.
That's talking about how, like, oh, there have been, like, some power switcheroos.
Yeah.
And so they're like, where did Superwoman's powers come from? We have no idea. And then it's also mentioned that this suit was one that was meant for deep space exploration. Yeah. And so it kind of gives that connection to how it could have got the powers from space and done a switcheroo there. Mm-hmm. So I like how it kind of like built up to that. I also liked a lot of the artwork for this. The one thing that I will say I didn't like the artwork for was, depending on how you were reading it, was either the last issue or the first issue, where it was kind of like a background of Superwoman going and doing some like girl power crime fighting with Superwoman Red and Supergirl.
The Superwoman special, I think, is what it's called.
And that art was...
The art in that one was not very good.
Yeah. Yes. It's kind of it's connected, but it's kind of disconnected. It was included in the like collection that I was reading for it, so that's why I mention it here, even though Judah didn't mention it.
Yes.
But that's the one thing that I'll say. The artwork was not very good, and honestly, if you wanted to skip it...
Yeah. If you want more Superwoman, I think she's appeared in a few other titles, and there's probably better stories than that one. It just gives you a little It just gives you a little, like, kind of a couple adventures of setting up that she's been doing it a little bit before this story. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one last quick thought for me is, this one was kind of jumping around a good bit, and it was a little disorienting for me. It's also just something that happens in comics in general, and I'm not as used to that, so I'll give it the benefit of it out there. But it was also kind of moving a little bit with like stuff that's happening in the future and the stuff that's happening now, and then the time has stopped, and kind of going to different characters and things like that. Just a little bit much for me. Not that any individual, page of the story was bad in any way. Well, except for the Superwoman thing.
Yeah.
But, like, other than that, it was all good. It's just kind of the jumping around wasn't very helpful for my mind. But, Judah, a couple more thoughts before we move on to the absolute Superman.
Yes. So, one thing I wanted to point out, in issue 1, they kill Parasite. And if you've been reading the Joshua Williamson Superman one, that's impactful, because Parasite, classic Superman villain, has been, like, being redeemed through this whole thing. And he's there to help out, and Doomsday just rips him in half. And I'm glad that we have stakes, right? Like Parasite dies and Jimmy gets hurt, right? I'm glad that this feels like, hey, these are threats that can threaten Superman, not just physically. Like Superman will probably beat them in the end, but they will threaten him on a level where he's losing pieces of his supporting cast, or it's testing his morals, right? Like I was really enjoying that, right? And the art from Dan Mora is just so, it's just so good, right? Like we may be bouncing around, but every character is excellently rendered and written very well. So, like in the next one, an Absolute Superman, right? We also bounce around a good bit. Let's be frank.
And I will make a comment about that when we get to it.
Yeah, and I think there are parts of that one that are very well written, and the other parts that are not. In this one, I think the writing is consistent throughout, even if there is that kind of cognitive dissonance of, like, we're bouncing here. Oh, look, we're on this character. Oh, look, we have a little intermission with Lex and Mercy, right? Like, But overall, I really enjoyed it, and it gave spotlight to, like, in the date issue, right? They see Zatanna, they see Amethyst. I believe they see a Green Lantern, right? Like, there's just fun stuff like that. And then you get, like Kirk was talking about earlier, the Justice League cameo. So overall, this is great story. If you want to pick up the volume, we would probably highly recommend it.
So for Absolute Superman, I mentioned I'm going to give a little comment about the jumping around.
Last dust of Krypton, baby.
Yeah, so I was debating when I was like compiling all my notes for the summary. I was debating, do I want to just give everything that's off-world right at the beginning, and then everything that's on-world, world being Earth in this case, following that for each issue, because this does jump around a lot. And as I'm kind of going through my notes on this, you might notice, like, oh my gosh, it's just moving on and moving on and moving on. But I would say, actually, after giving a little bit of thought and talking to Judah about it, that the order that they put these things in the story is actually kind of important.
Intentional, yeah.
So it's not my fault that it's jumping around so much. It's Judah's fault, obviously.
Yes, exactly. Everything's my fault.
Everything's his fault, yes. So I just wanted to put that little disclaimer out there, but into the summer we go. So we started out on Krypton years ago. I don't believe it says specifically how long, but just years ago. And we get a glimpse into this rigid class structure that's on Krypton, right? And the Scientist League is what's at the very top of this hierarchy, and the Labor Guild is at the very bottom. And the classic House of El symbol, the S that you see on Superman's chest, looks like that's just the symbol for the entire Labor Guild. It's not just for the House of El, it's the Labor Guild.
Yes.
So one big difference between this universe and what we're used to. But I thought it was noteworthy. So immediately after something like that, we jump into a mining town in Brazil, modern day, right? This is what I was talking about. We just go, okay, next thing. And the diamond miners there are just being forced to continue mining in very dangerous conditions, something that there's obviously been a lot of controversy about in the real world, right? And this is kind of paralleling. Everything that's happening is kind of paralleling what's happening on Krypton, right? And one day they head down to the mines and they find that the air is pure. There's not asbestos in the air or anything like that anymore. And the diamonds are all like mined and like crushed into the proper sizes and things like that. And obviously everybody there is kind of shocked that this has happened, but also mentioned that this has been happening other places around the world for a little while now. And peacemakers, on behalf of Lazarus, start to ask questions very harshly about how in the world they got those diamonds mined so fast. And I actually have a question for Judah about the peacemakers here. So this is this Lazarus Corporation has peacemakers. Like we see in Peacemaker, they like peace at all costs, right? But it's not just one guy or like one guy and his son. This is like a whole thing.
It appears at the present that the peacemakers may extend beyond just the Lazarus Corporation, based on some of the things we've seen in some later Absolute titles, right? They might be a world peacekeeping force. I'm going to put peacekeeping in quotations.
Yes.
Right? But these ones are specifically working and are being paid by the Lazarus Corporation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But it is just like an actual, like,
it's a military organization, yes.
Okay. So I thought that was actually really interesting. But it's revealed that was actually Kal-El, right? Yes. Superman.
Yeah.
And the Peacemakers are after him. There's this AI thing in his suit called Soul.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love that naming. And that's helping him kind of evaluate a battlefield, right? A start has fighted is what I was about to say.
A fight has started.
A start has fighted, and
that was a stroke.
Maybe a start has fighted, and Soul is, like I mentioned, helping him evaluate the battlefield, right? Like Jarvis, kind of like Jarvis.
Yeah.
Judah hates that I just said that.
No.
But despite all the help that he's getting from Soul, his powers are drained enough that he was too slow to stop one Agent Lane from cuffing him.
Yes.
Yeah, so Agent Lane calls him the Superman, right? And we then do another jump cut into the Nevada desert.
Of course we do.
Lazarus R&D. Then we just get a little glimpse of it. But then we cut again. More cuts. Just cut everywhere. Cut. Then we cut to central Kansas and a ruined farm claimed by Lazarus Corp. And then back to where we started. Another cut. Years ago, Krypton Redlands, where Jor-El has come back to his family, notably including a preteen Kal-El with news of Krypton's impending doom. Very notable that this is not little baby Kal-El. Yes. This is a Kal-El who knew his parents.
Yes.
Okay? And that's where we end Absolute Superman 1. Absolute Superman 2 is just right where we left off. Redlands of Krypton. But now we're told this is 6 years ago. So there's an actual kind of time scale on this. Kal-El is a teen now, so not even just preteen territory, but he's a lot older now, right? And he's just in his room taking some online classes, but unlike our super boring real world, he's in trouble for not using AI in his writing.
Which is funny.
Which is so funny.
I laughed at that when I read it.
I actually very much enjoyed that. People don't think for themselves, essentially, is the whole point of all of this. These people don't think for themselves. We get done with this flashback, right? Another cut. And Soul is trying to free Kal-El from these cuffs, right? And Kal-El actually, for some reason, doesn't want to hurt Lois Lane, right? I say for some reason because at this point we're not really told much about his motives, but we're starting to get an understanding that he's not trying to hurt anyone. He's only trying to help people. Even the people who are hurting the people who he's trying to help, he doesn't want to hurt, right? So we do get some of that. We'll get back to that at the end of issue 5. It is when it kind of gets important. And then leading into issue 6. But at least right now we're kind of saying, oh, he's not really trying to hurt anybody, right?
Yeah.
Shush, Judah. So, of course, all the Peacemakers start shooting at both Kal-El and Lois Lane.
Yes.
It feels very weird, by the way, saying Kal-El and not Clark, because in this, he's not Clark.
He's not Clark.
There was never a Clark, right?
There is no Clark, yes.
So, Kal is trying to protect Lois with this dust. It's called dust. It's like his... We learned it's kind of like his space suit thing. It kind of also, like, flies behind him like a cape.
It's Soul.
Yeah. Well, yes, it's Soul, but that's what it is. They call it, like, this dust. And we learn it's a spacesuit thing, and that's where this AI thing, that Soul, is kind of being housed, which is kind of why I mentioned Jarvis. It's like the... You know what I'm saying.
They definitely do.
And, Judah, I have one question about this, and that's where in the world does this come from?
So, it's... Okay. So... It is a advanced piece of technology that uses, like what in the main universe, like what Kryptonite is, being the last pieces of Krypton that have launched themselves on Earth from asteroids, right? This is made up of particles and dust specks and, I don't know. It's kind of convoluted, but it's like made up of materials that were from Krypton during its explosion. If that makes sense, right?
And it's got this... We'll get a little bit more into the origin story of what this is later and how, like, Soul comes into it, but this is what houses Soul, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that was my only question. It's just a little bit of explanation for where that comes from, because it kind of comes out of nowhere. But Kal leaps away. At this point, it kind of seems like he can't fly. He can just leap, but we'll get back to that. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but I'm pretty sure he's got like general set of powers that's just being kind of contained by the suit a little bit.
Power levels from the last issue, you gotta keep that in mind. Because his powers are drained.
Yeah. So at this point, though, specifically, he's just kind of, you know how Hulk can like make really big leaps? It's kind of like that, right? So kind of just jumping away. But I noticed something. Little unusual.
Small thing.
Flying tanks. It's so unnecessary, but I love it. I mean, like, literally...
They're cool.
That's what helicopters are. They're literally flying tanks. I mean, maybe in some cases a little bit less armor, but they can have, like, serious ballistics on them. Like, you don't need it to be a tank. But I absolutely love it anyway. So...
He absolutely loves it, guys.
I do. Yes, I absolutely love it. So, Kal... I almost said Clark. Kal and Lois get into an argument. Kal doesn't like her very much. I mean, that's so different, obviously.
Yeah. Will it stay that way?
We'll find out. So, even though they have their differences, you know, she's working for, I mean, Hitler, essentially, and he's working for
that's
not.
Interesting. Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
I will give one note, and it's that she's not 100% on board with it.
Yes.
But technically speaking, she is, right? So despite their differences, one of these flying tanks, love them, crashes into a church that's kind of housing a bunch of people who are fleeing from the fighting, right? A bunch of civilians. And they put aside their differences, they help them out, right? After being able to get all these people out, Soul is able to kind of undo these cuffs. Finally, took him long enough.
Yeah.
And he runs away, basically. Lois is giving this after-action report to what she thinks is just an algorithm, but is actually Brainiac. And I love that. And that's...
We'll get more about him, too.
Yeah. And then again, at the end of this one, we do another jump cut. This one had a lot fewer jump cuts in it, but we get a jump cut back to Krypton, where Kal's parents have just finished making what becomes his spacesuit, right?
Yeah.
And then we just get one last look at Earth right at the end of this, where the peacemakers are being total jerks.
And we get very focused on one peacemaker in particular.
And we will come back to that one. So, number 3. We're back to Krypton again. 6 years ago, they go on a camping trip to the Rao Mountains, which are red versions of the crystalline structures used in the traditional Fortress of Solitude, right?
Yes.
Like we saw in the new DCU Superman movie.
Yep.
The big, like... crystal spires coming out of the ground to form the Fortress of Solitude. It's exactly that, but red. After that, they return home, right? And Kal notes that his parents are constantly, like, just doing something. Like, his dad comes home from work and is immediately on, you know, more work, right? And so he's kind of like, what's going on with that? So he's spying in on their conversations about the end of the world, naturally.
Of course.
During one such moment, love Crypto, and Kal find whatever acid has been eating away at the mines, which is something I kind of glossed over before, but in issue number 1, I believe, Jor-El is in the mines, and there's, like, a problem, and then eventually, like, it explodes with this acid thing, right? And it's the same acid thing from then, and it's made its way all the way to the Redlands, killing all the animals and crops. And kind of while this is going on, obviously a little while later after the first sighting of this from Kal, his school made a trip to Kandor, the city, where the Science Guild was. So while he was there, he actually sees his dad, right? And Jor-El is being carried away by guards for scientific heresy. So Kal runs home, tells his mom, and what's her name?
Lara,
okay.
Yeah.
And she suits up in the newly made suit and goes to break Jor-El out, right? And during this encounter, Kal realizes that, because he goes with her, that the higher classes of Krypton have all been secretly working on a way to get off Krypton. They know that they're doomed, right? Now, House of El does not have their own ship, so they make one. And Lara is the main engineer working on this thing. It's based off a science experiment from when she was a kid. And it's made up of this dust, right? This kind of nanite type thing that is the whole ship is, and like everybody who gets on the ship, we'll see later, they kind of bond with it to have their own suits, right?
Yes.
So that'll be important later, but they're going to use that to get as many of their neighbors and loved ones off the planet as they possibly can, which is never going to be enough, but they're going to do what they can. But Cal's asking the important questions. Where the heck are we going to go? Like, the science yield has not been trying to explore space or anything at this point.
Yes.
So, like, we don't know of anywhere else that we can go. This is a far cry from a lot of the versions of Krypton that we can see in media where they're, like, a big galactic player, right?
Yes.
They're kind of isolated. They're not focused on any other planets or anything like that, right? So, after asking where are we going, the very next page, jump cut, Central Kansas, modern day, Smallville, senior living. And we don't really pick up on that until right at the very end. So,
yes,
just keep that one in mind. So, number 4, Lois Lane is interviewing people that Kal has saved from around the world. During Lois's searching, she gets a call from her dad, General Lane, who's demanding she take a protective detail of peacemakers. There's a long conversation, but she doesn't want to do that. We cut to a peacemaker talking to the Brainiac algorithm, in quotes, which is blatantly rewriting facts of Lazarus's encounters and the peacemaker's encounters with civilians, right? And this is the one that you were mentioning earlier. This is Christopher Smith, yeah. And he's saying, like, no, I shot my gun, and, like, I wasn't... Like, I was trying to shoot my gun. It wasn't, like, that it was an error of some kind. Like, I was shooting my gun, and Brainiac's like, the gun was malfunctioning. And he's like, no, I was shooting my gun, and the gun was malfunctioning, right? Blatantly rewriting history. So, Lois Lane has an encounter with one of the Omega Men. I've put in quotes because it's kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
This being introduced here, at least for me, and definitely in this, it hasn't been mentioned before.
Yeah.
But a resistance fighting organization is what it is, labeled as terrorists by Lazarus.
Yes.
And during the altercation, Superman shows up. He's not really interested in the Omega Men and just tells Lois to stop looking for him. He freezes the peacemakers and leaves. The Omega Men flee, and we actually learn that one of the Omega Men, with the rank of Alpha, which I presume is the lowest rank.
Because they are the Omega Men.
So Omega being the last letter of the Greek alphabet, Alpha being the first, one would assume.
Yes.
Okay.
It's valid.
So, Jimmy Olsen, let's go. Alpha.
Alpha?
Alpha.
He's an alpha.
Jimmy's an alpha. I love that. Kind of getting introduced to the characters we know and love, but in totally different situations, right? Obviously, he's obsessing over a picture he took of Superman on his phone, because that's literally his entire character.
Yes, so far.
Lastly, the Peacemaker that we were briefly introduced to earlier,
good old Chris
Smith, kills everybody.
Yep.
Right when he thaws out from the Superman freezy breath thing, he freaking kills everybody. 23 people, I believe, is what they say. But bro's going insane.
He is.
And back to Krypton. Jump cut again. We're getting fewer and fewer of these, but get a glimpse of the chaos of Krypton in its last days, the moments before Kal's family, friends, and neighbors flee the planet, right? Jump cut, back on Earth. Superman, full-on rampage, trying to find Chris Smith, who killed the civilians last time, remember? 5 seconds ago. During this rampage, Sol learns of Brainiac. Like, there's a bunch of hacking going on back and forth, right? And Brainiac wants to meet Superman in exchange for the location of Smith, right? Jump cut, back to Krypton. The scene of the planetary evacuation. Nobody else makes it. All of the other ships are crashing.
Exploded.
It specifically mentions none of the other classes got their ships off the ground. And Kal's family's ship is actually flying away. But then the planet's kind of exploding, right? So one of the rocks hits the ship. Really sad. But because of the whole engineering prowess of everything, the suits that were bonded to the people and also the ship become their own, like, little mini space jets. Quinjets, to go the Marvel route.
You're such a nerd.
Yes, that's the whole point of this podcast.
I know.
Okay. But Kal is alone. We cut one last time to Kal, alone in Smallville, present day, to remind himself of home That's where we start up. That's almost where we start with number 6, actually. We jump back to Kal being in space, right? There's kind of like, oh, he's been in 8 days. Okay, he's been in, for 8 weeks. Oh, he's been in for however long, right? There's a couple of moments throughout his, what comes out to be 1.5 year long journey, right? Starting to lose hope, but at the last second, Soul finds Earth. And Kal has some sort of reaction to the yellow sun, right? And then we cut down back to Earth. The Kent's Smallville farm crash. There's a crash landing right next to them, and it's Kal-El, Superman. They rescue him, try to care for him, but they're not really able to do that much. But finally, after a little while, Soul, who's always late to everything, is able to power back on and destroy some weather modification satellites that were apparently keeping it from raining, right? So this Lazarus company is trying to force a sale of the land because they want to build like a whole big
corporate building.
But right at the end, we get a not so surprising reveal. If you actually read it, you can see a lot of things that
lead up
kind of point to this being
the
case.
The word Lazarus being a large one.
And they also mentioned a fountain that can give you a couple extra years on your life, right? Or take you back a couple of years and things like that.
Yeah.
Raish Al Ghul.
Yeah,
right?
Raz.
It's Raish.
It's Raz.
It's definitely Raish.
It's Raz.
It's R-A''S.
It's Raz.
Raish.
Raz.
What are your thoughts, Judah?
All right, so I would. Okay, so I've read these before, and I reread these specifically for us going over these, and I love the art in this. I think that Rafa Sandoval's pages are gorgeous, and he makes the stuff on Krypton especially pop and stand out, and it gives me the kind of classic John Byrne World of Krypton comic kind of stuff. The art is really good in this, and I want to be positive about this because on second read, the entire thing is probably better than when I first read it. Okay,
that's good.
That is good. Issue 1 was pretty good, and then we kind of fall off with the present day storytelling, right? So my thing, I love the stuff that happens on Krypton. I love all the stuff that leads into where we kind of get his origin. I liked issue 6. Yes, I like the reveal of Ra's al Ghul. I like the way that we're positioning Brainiac and how he is. Soul's an interesting concept. This Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen are interesting. My problem with this is the character of Superman, right? And why I have a problem with it is because of how this universe is pitched and how we see the characters in the other stories, right? Absolute Batman, completely different story than main universe Batman, but it's still the same heart of Batman, right? It's still justice, not vengeance, right? It's still that kind of idea. And same thing with Wonder Woman, but this character of Superman, we've changed his story, right? But he is not the same character, and in some ways that's valid. But
it's just a lot more of a shocking difference. Right?
Yeah, it's not it reminds me of New 52 Superman a lot because he is very kind of edgy and he's a little nihilistic and he's admittedly we get the very little we get of his expression of things is him being frustrated and wanting to kill, right? Which I'm not a fan of that. There is
but don't you know, Judah?
Expression
character development.
Yeah. Well, yes, character development, but I know I've read Jason Aaron's Thor, right? I don't think this author is going to develop him to the point where he is going to become a hopeful character. Superman is all about inspiring people and giving people hope. And, again, Darkseid Universe, Darkseid is evil. We're getting, all these awful things happening around the world with the party animals and the Lazarus Corporation, right? And things like that in this universe that are gradually getting built out and showing you how bad it is, right? At the same time, I think that, in issue 1, when he is you see him help someone, right? You see him help those miners. That inspired them, right?
That needs to be the focus of it.
We need to focus on that a bit more. I like the beginning of issue 4 where we got to see a little bit of that, but the character that we see of Superman doesn't feel like the guy that would do the things that it's said that he does, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
I think I'm actually totally on board with you on this.
Yeah.
Before we started, I was I'm not sure if I agree with Judah, but now after because we try not to talk too much about it before.
Yeah.
So after hearing out fully, I think I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
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 I just have one question.
What?
Where's Booster Gold in all this?
Where's Booster Gold? Okay.
We'll get back to this in a different episode.
Yes.
But just remember, though, somewhere in all of this is a Booster Gold story from, like, the real, quote-unquote, universe, the not Darkseid one. So let's not lose sight of that. But
last thing. Ratings for each of these books.
Hold on.
Oh, wait, you have thoughts.
I have thoughts. Gosh.
Kirk has thoughts, guys. I'm sorry. Kirk, give me your thoughts.
Okay. So, like I mentioned, I'm pretty on board with what you said there. I also kind of don't like the darker side of it, right? Like, this is Darkseid, and I'm going to have to go through and fix the transcript for this again.
For Darkseid,
it's going to be so annoying. But I don't like the dark side of the Darkseid universe. It's just not really my thing. I like the Star Trek hope, positivity, things like that, right? Yeah. But there's a way to do it that's good, that I do like.
Yes.
Like what we saw in Absolute Batman, right?
Yes.
That, despite it being a dark, very dark universe, it was, first of all, cool, right? I didn't see any of the cool, really, in this.
Yeah.
But also, it was hopeful. Like, we saw things get better. And that's because they only spent the first issue on background.
Yeah.
Because the character wasn't so drastically different. Like, I think we could have kept all the Krypton stuff. Every single bit of what we saw in Krypton we could keep.
Uh-huh.
But then have him being a little bit more of an established character modern day on Earth.
Yes.
Right? And not go into too much about, like, his Earth backstory. And all we need is the Krypton backstory,
yes.
right? And then just have him not be, like, such a moody...
He just feels like an emo teenager.
Yeah, he does. He looks like an emo teenager, too, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you're helping people. That's really cool. Like, what are the... Okay, first of all, world building, love, right? Absolutely love the world building that's going on with all this. But also, like, little by little, making things better.
Yes.
I thought that's what we were going to be doing with this. Just, like, he helps one person, he helps another person, he helps a group of people. Like, just, he does one thing after another. There are small things that start to, like, build up and cause an avalanche of positivity and hopefulness, right? Where you take something that's dark, but you're like, this is where we're going with it. But it kind of started with that, but it was like, oh, but, like, we just want him to be even more different and even more emo. So we're going to drop that and just make him more emo. It's like, they could have done it better. So, like I said, I'm right there with Judah on the kind of general idea of this, that it was good, but it could have been better. Yeah,
it was well made, but it didn't like, you can tell through the art and the storytelling that people cared about this. But I didn't really see it as a Superman story, right?
Yeah. And it can be fixed, I think, still. Like, a little bit retroactively. If they just say, okay, these first 6 issues, they're just the backstory ones, right? Mm-hmm. And then from here on, and there are already a couple that are released, but going forward, they can just start doing that, step by step of, like, making things better. And then you can just kind of take these as a backstory and an origin story for him and kind of leave it there. Just, it's for your knowledge. It's for the world building. And then do what we're saying right now. So, I'm not too hopeful that they're actually going to do that, because I'm never hopeful that anybody's going to take my suggestions and things, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But they could.
They could.
All anyway, right. Ratings, yes.
Ratings. Okay, so Superman, Rise of Superwoman, the art, like you talked about in the collection, if you get it physically, you have to deal with the Superwoman special, which, like, takes off 2 points from what I would say is a 9 out of 10 story, right? Like, the rest of it is, like, it's so good. And then, like, in the little issue collection I read the Superwoman special first, which was not a great setup point for me. Did not get me in the mood to read the actual story. But I would say 9 out of 10 for the Dan Mora drawn stuff and the main story of that, right? Would you agree with that?
I was actually going to say 9 out of 10 too. I wouldn't take 2 points off. I would take 1 point off for the terrible artwork in the Superwoman thing. Yeah. But, I mean, it is also kind of separate, so
yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah. It's very, very good story.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, Absolute Superman is a little bit of a different animal for me. I think the art elevates it to a 6 out of 10 from like a 4 out of 10 for me, right?
Wow.
Like, yeah. Like, I think that it is above average enough that I can recommend that if you have an interest in sci-fi concepts that you should read it, right? But it's also
especially if you like world building specifically.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of world building in here, right? And there's some cool ideas and some interesting characters. Superman is not one of those cool ideas or interesting characters in the Superman comic, which is kind of funny. But
yeah, it was really a Lois.
It was really a Lois. Yeah, Lois gets most of the perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say it's about a 6 out of 10 with some moments in there that are pretty good. Mm-hmm. But
so, despite agreeing with Judah on the overall kind of thoughts about it, right? I would not say that those issues that I have with it bring it down by that much. I would say probably closer to a 7.5. Maybe even 7. No, I think about it just a second longer. Maybe 7. Again, I have the same issues with it as Judah, but they're not such a detriment to me that it brings it that low.
Yeah.
But also,
there's still
7 out of 10 is like just passing, right?
Yeah.
So, not the highest.
It feels like
grade.
a just passing.
Yeah.
Or depending on your teacher, maybe just failing, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So, let us know what your thoughts are. If you have rankings for these after you've gone and read them, which you should have done before listening to this.
Or if this inspires you to read them after listening to this.
Yep, then go into the comments and give us what your thoughts are about it and also what you would rate these as.
Yeah. With that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Have a good morning, a good evening, and a good night. And God bless.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.